What do Conor McGregor, Dana White, and Sean Strickland have in common that has nothing to do with an Octagon? Motorcycles. Today we break down 8 UFC guys that don't just bust people's heads in, they ride. Let's get into it.
We run the night, we run the night, run.
Big shout to the Ghosts and the Ghost Sets. I'm Sos the Ghost. This is Demons Row. Let me know in the comments if you're a big UFC guy. And if you are, let me know who your favorite is. And let's get into this list of UFC fighters that live this two-wheel shit. Number 1, Conor McGregor. If you know anything about UFC, Conor McGregor is an awesome UFC fighter and a master shit talker who wears custom suits, gold watches, and rides luxury yachts. But if a machine is loud, fast, and dangerous, you could bet Conor McGregor wants the keys. He isn't just a fan of the ride, he's a fan of the culture. Conor McGregor made an appearance at the Buffalo Chip. Now, why was he there? To promote a league he's part owner in. As part owner of the Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship, the BKFC, the Sturgis Buffalo Chip hosted BKFC 63 on August 3rd, 2024, during the 84th annual Sturgis Motorcycle Rally. McGregor attended as the face of the promotion to fire up the crowd and to promote his expanding business empire. McGregor and his team were forged long before world titles and private jets, rooted in the early days of SBG Ireland with brothers in arms like Gunnar Nelson. To celebrate Gunnar's birthday during their meteoric rise in 2015, Conor surprised the stoic Icelandic grappler with a matte black Harley-Davidson Iron 883. For Conor, the rear of that Harley wasn't just about the machine. It was a tribute to the brotherhood that fueled his journey. From the gym to the global stage, whether he's pushing limits on a custom racing bike to build that world-class cardio or navigating the Dublin streets on a motorcycle, he has survived high-speed scares on the road and wars in the Octagon. But his philosophy remains the same. Go fast, stay dangerous. Let me know in the comments if you're a fan of Conor McGregor. Number 2, Dana White, the OG of the whole UFC. You know him as the guy who built this company into a multi-billion-dollar empire. But when Dana White needs to get away from the corporate office and the fighter contracts, he gets on 2 wheels. Dana put it simply, when I'm on a bike, there's no room for pussy-ass bullshit. And you know he's straight up the way he talks. You gotta be all in, you gotta grind. Most guys with his bank account just buy a fancy car and call it a day. Not Dana. He's got the Ferraris for sure, but his garage also looks like a museum for motorcycles. We're talking about an MV Augusta F4 that hits 193 miles per hour and custom Ducatis dripping in UFC branding. But the crown jewel, that's the stainless steel chopper from Jesse James. Dana waited years for it. He describes Jesse as a genius and a lunatic, and that's exactly the energy he wanted for a bike that took over a year just to engrave. It's raw, it's loud, and it's one of a kind. And if you think he's a trailer queen, that's a rider who only cruises on sunny days, you would be wrong. He took Matt Serra and Don Thomas to the Sturgis Motorcycle Rally in South Dakota, and it turned into a total clusterfuck. Dana has 2 absolute rules for the road: never ride in the dark and never ride in the rain. Now, you know in clubs, we ride in all weather, but him, at Sturgis, that rule was broken for him. The crew got caught in a brutal storm on the way to Mount Rushmore. It was dangerous, it was winding, but it made me a better rider. When they finally made it to the monument, they didn't even have the right permits to film. Dana laughed about it later, saying the mountain park people were chasing us all over the place. For Dana, that trip wasn't just a vacation. It was proof that no matter how much money you have, the road will humble you. But even though he loves the adrenaline, he's still the boss. He got a strict rule for his fighters: use common sense. Taking a Harley for a ride on the back roads at sunset, that's great. But using it to weave through traffic every day, that's how you get hurt and ruin your career. And I understand that him being a businessman and investing so much in these fighters. At the end of the day, whether he's at the apex or on the open road, Dana White only knows one speed: all gas, no brakes with it. Number 3, Sean Strickland. Sean Strickland is known for riding motorcycles. He treats them like a high-speed experiment. For Sean, if you've never crashed or went down, you aren't trying hard enough. He's admitted that he has a literal addiction to the adrenaline. I can't stop, it's like a drug. I know it's stupid, I know I might die, but I'm gonna keep doing it until the wheels fall off. And he isn't exaggerating. Even after 2018, where he had a bike wreck that shattered his leg, Sean was right back to his old tricks. And this is how we do in the culture. A lot of us have went down, we jump right back on when we're ready. Just recently, he posted a video of himself flipping his bike while practicing wheelies, covered in road rash and laughing about it. He told his followers, "I'm a fucking moron, man, and I was out here hot dogging, try to look cool, and I looped it. My leg is a mess, but we're still going to the gym tomorrow." And that's just a bike away. The craziest part, he doesn't even stop when a multi-million-dollar title fight is on the line. During his lead up to his massive rematch with Dricus du Plessis, I know I'm butchering his name, I apologize, the UFC embedded cameras showed him getting tossed off his bike while showing off. While most fighters are wrapped in bubble wrap a week before a fight, Sean was peeling himself off the asphalt, saying, "I'm fine, it's just a little skin. You can't live in fear. If I die, I die." He even uses his bikes as a way to troll the UFC brass. When Dana White expressed concern about his riding, Sean's response was classic Tarzan. "Dana hates it. The UFC hates it. Everyone thinks I'm gonna ruin the main event. But at the end of the day, I'm a grown man. I pay my own bills and ride my own bikes." For Sean, the motorcycle is the ultimate expression of his don't give a damn attitude. It's loud, it's dangerous, and it's completely unpredictable, just like the man himself. He said, "If I'm gonna go out, I'm gonna go out doing something that makes me feel alive. A cage or a crash, it doesn't matter to me." Real quick, if you enjoy MC Culture content, smash that like and that subscribe button and get your Gosavelli motorcycle riding mask, Paisley gloves, Demons Row snapbacks in all colors, track races, we got it all, and you can get it on www.demonsrow.com. Let's get back into it. Number 4, Chuck Liddell. Chuck the Iceman Liddell lives this two-wheel shit. Before he was the face of the UFC, Chuck was already a guy who preferred the roar of an engine to the quiet of a car. Chuck is a purist. For him, it's not about $100,000 Italian sport bikes. It's about American muscle. He's been a Harley-Davidson guy since day one. He once said there's just something about the sound of a Harley, and I know we can all agree with it. It just got that rumble that you could feel in your chest. It's real power. Back when the UFC was just starting to blow up, Chuck was the ultimate ambassador. He wasn't just showing up the red carpets. He was pulling up to the arena on a custom Harley-Davidson Fat Boy. But the most famous bike in Chuck's history is the Iceman Custom Chopper. It was built for him during the height of his career. A long, low aggressive machine with a custom blue paint job that matched his signature fight trunks. Chuck described the feeling of riding as the ultimate stress reliever. "When I'm in camp, everything is high pressure. When I get on that bike, all the noise goes away. It's just me and the road." Chuck didn't just ride solo either. He was a regular fixture at the Sturgis Motorcycle Rally, often riding alongside Dana White and the rest of the UFC crew. While Dana was worried about the rain and the dark, he's a guy who's taken his fair share of hits in the Octagon. Chuck didn't just ride solo either. He once told an interviewer, "If you're worried about getting a little dirty or taking a bug to the face, you're on the wrong machine." Even after retiring from the cage, Chuck's love for the ride hasn't slowed down. You'll still see him at bike weeks and charity rides across the country. For the Iceman, the philosophy is simple. Life is short. Ride hard, fight hard, and don't look back. At the end of the day, Chuck Liddell and motorcycles just make sense. They're both loud, they're both tough, and they both represent a time when the UFC was raw and unapologetic. Number 5, Tito Ortiz. If there's one guy who turned the motorcycle lifestyle into a spectacle, it's Tito Ortiz. Tito's philosophy on motorcycles is the same as his entrance to the Octagon. It's gotta be big, it's gotta be loud, and everybody has to be looking at it. He once said, I don't do anything small. If I'm gonna ride the biggest, baddest machine on the street. Back in the mid-2000s, when Tito was the biggest star in the sport, he didn't just buy a bike off the lot. He went to the world-famous Orange County Choppers for a full custom build. This wasn't just a motorcycle, it was a tribute to his career. It featured a massive 120 cubic inch engine, a flame job paint scene, and his Punishment brand logo integrated into the frame. Tito described the OCC build as a masterpiece. He said seeing the bike come together was like watching a title fight. It's got the aggressive stance, that power, and it represents everything that I put into this sport. But Tito doesn't just keep his bikes in the garage. He's notorious for riding his custom choppers through the streets of Huntington Beach, often wearing his signature flame-covered gear. He said, when I'm on my bike, I feel untouchable. It's that freedom of the open road combined with the power of a machine that I helped design. Even as his career transitioned into politics and business, the bike stayed. He's been a regular at charity rides and high-profile motorcycle events. Number 6. Jorge Masvidal. When you talk about Jorge Gamebred Masvidal, you're talking about the streets of Miami. Before he was the BMF champion, Jorge was a kid navigating Dade County, where the lifestyle is fast and the streets are unforgiving. Jorge's history with two wheels actually starts with a tough lesson. He talked about a story from his childhood where his bike was stolen. It was that environment, what he calls a war zone, that forced him to grow up fast and start his own manhunt to get his property back. You'll see him in videos like Riding with Jorge Masvidal, where he cruises through his old neighborhoods, reflecting on the hustle that took him from backyard brawls to global superstardom. But when it comes to his actual garage today, fans are always asking the question, what is the BMF really riding when the cameras aren't rolling? We know he has the taste for the best that Miami has to offer, high-performance machines that match his game-bred mentality. He's been linked to everything from aggressive sport bikes to blacked-out cruisers that look like they belong in an outlaw club. Jorge himself said, I'm a dirty South goon, damn right. I ain't no West Coast gangster, and his style on the road reflects that same all gas, no brakes attitude. Is he dodging Miami traffic on a Ducati, or is he leaning into a power of a custom American cruiser? While he keeps his specific keys close to the chest, one thing is certain, Jorge Masvidal doesn't do anything half speed. Number 7, Donald Cerrone. In the world of the UFC, everyone claims they're built different. Then there's Donald Cowboy Cerrone, a man who treats a cage fight like a warm-up and a motorcycle ride like it's a religious experience. For Cowboy, life is about one thing, the rush. He famously said, I live a wild and crazy life. I just fell in love with the cowboy way of life. Most guys buy a bike to look cool. Cowboy buys a bike to survive it. His garage at the BMF Ranch in New Mexico is a revolving door of adrenaline. From dirt bikes and ATVs to his personal fleet of Harley-Davidsons. Cowboy didn't just buy these bikes. He became the face of the brand in the UFC. When he made the move to the 170-pound division, Harley-Davidson celebrated him by gifting him a custom 2016 Road Glide. He's been a massive ambassador for them, often saying he'd rather be out on a bike than driving a car any day. But in 2006, that love for the ride almost cost him everything. During a motocross jump, things went sideways. Cowboy crashed stomach first into his own handlebars. The impact didn't just break ribs, it effectively disemboweled him. He remembers waking up and seeing his own innards being cleaned up by surgeons. He was pronounced dead at the hospital before doctors revived him for 3 separate times. He woke up from a 2-week coma, missing a massive portion of his intestines and half his stomach. Most people would never look at a bike again. Cowboy, he was back in the gym and back on the track as soon as he could walk. Years later, his stomach actually kinked up like a garden hose because of the old injury right before a fight. Doctors had to pump him full of warm water to unspin his guts just days before and he won. Why does he do it? Because the risk is the point. Number 8. Frank Mir. You want to talk about a guy who lived through a nightmare? Look at Frank Mir. In June 2004, Frank was on top of the world. He had just topped Sylvia's arm to become the UFC heavyweight champion. He was young, he was a submission wizard, and he looked unstoppable. 3 months later, it all came crashing down. literally. Frank was on his motorcycle in Las Vegas just 10 days before his wedding. He wasn't even speeding. He was just cruising to a gas station on his reserve fuel when a car pulled a left-hand turn right into his path. The impact was horrific. Frank was ejected from the bike and flew 80 feet through the air. When he hit the ground, his femur was snapped in 2 places, and every major ligament in his knee was torn to shreds. His boot was ripped clean off, and he almost lost his toes. His brother who was riding with him actually thought he was dead. Frank said he threw up in his helmet and was just focused on controlling his breathing to stay alive. The doctors told him he'd be lucky to walk normally again, let alone fight. The UFC eventually stripped him of the title because the recovery was going to be so long. For 2 years, Frank was a ghost in the sport. Allegedly, he even had to stand on one leg at his own wedding ceremony because the pain was ungodly. But Frank Mir is a different breed. He didn't just learn to walk, he learned to fight all over again. He had to reinvent his entire style because his body didn't move the same way anymore. And how much of a beast do you have to be? He made the impossible comeback, and what does he do? He returns to the Octagon and he chokes out Brock Lesnar and eventually wins the interim heavyweight title. You want to talk about resolve? That's a crazy story. Let me know in the comments if you knew any of these UFC fighters were heavy into the culture. And thank you for tuning in to Demons Road TV, the holy grail of MC culture. Like, subscribe, and comment. And oh yeah, we ghosting, baby.
Oh.